January 16th, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is what the charts look like today. This is actually Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. There was a little bit of trading yesterday. This is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but this, as you can see, there wasn't much price action. It's a half day. There's not much price action here. I definitely didn't try to trade it. I definitely didn't even turn on the computer because there was nothing really here to shoot for. So waited for today to open, and this is what I saw. There's only one piece of economic data that came out, which was the Empire State Manufacturing Index. It came out around 5:30, which is about right here. So you could argue that after this sell-off, right before the news came out, it had this big bump and then comes back down. Didn't mean to do that. This is the pre-market lows and the pre-market highs, but I thought the range was a little bit tighter here and here. Although you could have drawn another range probably from the pre-market high all the way down to roughly the pre-market lows. So overall, things look like they were kind of in a big range. I'm just going to leave this blue box here. I'm actually going to delete the blue box. I'm going to put in a gray box. Actually, just a gray. Green doesn't look too bad either. I'm just going to put in a gray. I'm going to stick with gray. I'm going to put in a gray range for the highs and lows. I took a total of one trade today. It was profitable. Overall, I didn't find too many setups. There was a lot of big swings here and there, but the entries weren't very good, so I ended up skipping a bunch. There were a few possible entries, but I ended up not taking them for one reason or another. This is the pre-market. Pre-market definitely looks like it's going to be range bound. Not only that, it looks like it's going to trade within this blue range. I saw this, but I didn't take it because this is right after the news. Actually, I wasn't even around, but I did see this setup after the fact, and I was just seeing if there wasn't a news item and this happened in real time, this is something I might have considered. The break of this green channel is first attempt up, pull back, second attempt up, and this is a pretty decent signal bar. The thing is, it's kind of a large signal bar though, because it's about almost 4 points. So this is definitely risky, but it looks like there's good momentum. But that's neither here nor there because I wasn't even around to take the trade. So prices then continue into the open, and I'm just watching. So I get a lot of these that I'm going to point out. It's like all these second entries, but they don't set up quite right. They're either too short or not too short, but they're like they don't set up very clean. It's like a new high, first entry short, second entry short. Technically, have a third entry short, but I don't like when the price action's like this. It's hard to really determine if this is one clean leg or if it's actually a true second entry. So it's just a little convoluted and congested, so I leave those alone. Price is then open, starts moving down. I'm thinking it's going to trade within this range because it looks like there was some kind of localized bottom that was respected here, some kind of localized top respected here. Breaks out of this green channel, starts moving down. Looks like it's moving in this yellow channel. So here it hits the pre-market lows, and I'm very interested to see if there's going to be a bounce. It looks like it kind of holds, and it does indeed bounce. And I was looking here to see if there was a setup. It's a new entry, first entry short. It's actually a new low. First entry short, pull back. Second entry short, there's a terrible signal bar. So you wouldn't really want to take a trade here. Prices then continue moving. Plus, even if this was a good signal bar, I'd be a little cautious on whether it was going to push down and touch here and bounce back up. So prices then continue moving up. I see this first setup, the new high, first entry long pullback. This is a second entry long. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's a break of this green channel, and you'd think it'd want to go back up and test this high. But you could also see this as, even though it's a first entry, second entry, I thought it might be just one leg. Because if you reset the count, because it's only one tick away, if you just set it from here in a visual, it's like first entry, long. So technically in the second entry long, it would have worked, but you don't know that at the time. Plus, this is starting to push back up, so you don't even know if it's a second entry long yet till this candle confirms. And so this looked like it might have been a trade, but again, I wasn't really 100% sure. Prices then continue moving up, pushes down, and this is where I actually see a visual second entry long. There's two clean legs down, didn't really quite make the measured move. This is a terrible signal bar, so I definitely wouldn't have thought about taking a long here, just because the signal bar, it doesn't prepare me to think, okay, I better get ready for reversal. Plus, it just broke down below the EMA, and after this trigger bar close, it's definitely very strong. So this might have been worth a trade, except if I put this entry here one tick above, I would have to put my stop way down here. And this is a very big bar. I didn't want to take that risk. Looks like it would have worked. Prices then continue moving up. Goes into this green channel, flashes up. It breaks out of the range, or what I think is the range, even though there is the pre-market highs up here. Things chop around. This is actually where I get ready for my first trade. And it created new highs. The first entry long, second entry long. This is a good signal bar. I admit it's a little aggressive because it didn't come back down and test the bottom. So it is a first break of this green channel. I'm expecting it to test the highs. Good signal bar. As I said, it didn't touch the bottom EMA. It didn't have a good bounce, but I felt like it was 1-2 enough oomph to get to the top. So I took an entry. The risk also was only 6 ticks on this candle. I thought I was going to get stopped out, but I thought the trade was okay because it was only one attempt up, and I was looking for the second attempt, and it comes out here. I get my quick scalp, and then if I would have gone for 2 points, it's debatable whether I really would have gotten out or maybe have gotten stopped out here. Then prices consolidate, it breaks, it comes up and touches the top. So right now the EMA is kind of holding prices, even though there's a small break here. I'm just watching. There is a new high. First entry long. This is technically a second entry long here, but there's no room to get out. There's a new low here. So you only have the first entry short, then it comes back down. So here, technically, you have a new high here. You have a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long and a failure. But this is very, very tight trading. And I didn't like the looks of this signal bar to take a failure. Maybe if it came up, touched the EMA, got rejected, and it closed more bearish. And then you don't really get another setup all the way down. It breaks out of this yellow channel, but even then I wasn't 100% confident on this yellow channel because it doesn't fit quite well. And I was debating whether it's actually lower here, but then there would be no break and it's actually a first shoot up. So if this was the channel and this is maybe the midline, it's a so-so channel, but it's not something that fits clean. So I didn't really like it unless a setup was just pristine. So this is just something I'd be more cautious of and I would just wait. There's a new low, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here, but you're not thinking short necessarily because it's a pretty strong signal bar. You get a confirmed second entry short, and there's maybe just enough room to the EMA, but this is just something I didn't really want to take because even though it's breaking out of this blue range and it broke out, this is a long dwell time out here. So to suddenly think I want to take a short because it might test the lows of this yellow channel, the problem with that is in order to reclaim pretty much half of this big move, so when I reclaim pretty much half of the move, instead of a correction, this could just pretty much be a reversal. If this was tighter down here, first entry short, second entry short with the EMA above it, then I would have considered taking a short. So even though it's a second entry short, it's a bad signal bar, doesn't have much going for it. So if you immediately think, well, if it's not a second entry short, it could be a failed second entry short. I think that's premature too. Just because one trade doesn't set up right doesn't mean you should not automatically take the other side. So I try to remind myself of that because every time I think of the trade and it doesn't look like it's setting up to go that direction, I oftentimes think, well, obviously it's going to go the other direction. Well, that may or may not be true because it could consolidate for a while and then still fake you out. So here, there's no short, in my opinion, and there's also no long for a failed second entry short. Prices then come down. This was an almost setup. I needed the EMA, as I said, to be above, and it looked like it worked. Prices then continue chopping. It hits this consolidation area, breaks up, and kind of continues moving. It gets very, very congested here. Goes down. It creates a new low. It's a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short. And I took a look back at what was going on. And so it looks like it's kind of range bound, right? And even though it's one leg up, pull back, second leg up, this second entry short, it isn't bearish enough. The signal bar isn't bearish enough for me to get ready to want to take a short because it did break and make higher highs every time. And here it was kind of, I mean, it's hard to see a trend of lower lows or higher lows. It's just a little bit choppy on the bottom. And at the top, it looks like it's slowly dwelling up. So to think I want to take a short kind of goes against the idea of higher highs. Then it breaks and comes back down. So that told me, okay, well, this is a little confusing. So I just need to wait and watch. And if I, took a trade, I'd have to sit through these 3 candles before it decisively did something. So if I took a short, I'd be wondering, am I going to get out? If I decided it was a failed second entry short, I'd be wondering, am I going to get out as well? Turns out it fakes you out. It goes up and back down. So it's kind of this weird knee-jerk reaction. If you took 1 point, you may or may not have gotten out here, and you may or may not have gotten out here. But it's a little bit just something I don't like when I see these big stems. Prices then continue moving up. First entry long, second entry long, but again, there's just too much stem on these bodies. Prices then chop around. I don't have this red channel drawn yet. Here, I just had this as a trend line coming down. I couldn't quite get the bottom of the channel to fit quite clean. So I eventually just drew it here, but I didn't really like how it didn't have that much respect to move all the way back down and come back up. So it's just a channel that I didn't trust too much. Prices then continue going down. You have a small break. It's still respecting the EMA, so it comes back. The EMA is rejecting and pushing prices back down. You have like a support here that's obvious, and a potential resistance up here. But there was nothing I could see to take safely. Prices then continue moving down. Breaks down. This is the first break and a first dwell outside, and it looks like it's going to respect it, but then it kind of falls back down. So it's a little bit, I guess, risky right here. Prices then continue moving. I see a higher low because I actually saw this as a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short. Then it pulls back and it creates a higher low. It's confirming the failed second entry short, but I don't like that this is a doji bar. And here it confirms the higher low and it flashes back up. But then I just was kind of over the idea of taking a trade here because this gave me pause. This is a pretty decent bar, but it needed to close really high. And here I'm wondering, is there some kind of resistance here? Or is it going to actually continue pulling back down? So I'm not 100% sure. So I wanted the failure of the second entry short to actually be above here to give my higher low a little bit more confidence in. Prices then continue moving up, flashes up. The first entry long, and that's all you get. So new low here is the first entry short. You don't get a second entry short because it just kind of flashes down. So there's this like crazy price action right here. Not crazy, but it was kind of choppy and whippy. And I was looked back and forth just to see if I missed anything. And I don't see any good trade or any safe trade to have taken. The prices continue moving down. You have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This is an almost setup. I needed it to come up and touch the EMA because it is a break of this green channel. And I needed to touch the EMA to give me confidence it's going to come back down and test it. But it didn't quite hit there, fell short. You do have a lower high here. The lower high again failed to touch the EMA, so that gave me pause. Even though it's a good signal bar, this one is, I would say, probably a little bit, I'm going to call this a lower high. This one is maybe a trade, but I just didn't feel like it because I just needed a little bit more confirmation by having it touch the EMA and reject back down. Prices then continue moving down. It goes down, tests the low, comes back up. It's a little bit fuzzy. Here, I think there was a possible trade, but the thing is, I didn't like it for this reason. So you have a new low, so first entry short, pull back, second entry short. You also have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, bouncing off the EMA, bouncing off the potential trend line support. The thing I didn't like is it's a break of this green channel, and it already tried to test it once. This could be the second attempt to test it, but there was some kind of resistance here being respected. So I was concerned that it might bounce here, might get rejected off this line, or it might reject off the highs. So in hindsight, I think this is a possible trade, but it's a more aggressive. And I just wanted, ideally, this resistance to maybe have been higher to give me a little more confidence for at least the 1 point clean and safe scalp. Looks like it would have worked though. So I'm going to chalk this up for, inexperience. Prices then continue moving up. It chops through, and here I do have this red channel drawn at this point because I have 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, and then potentially a 4th touch. And then I drew the bottom, moved a little bit. I actually bring it up a little bit here. So it actually touches 3 times down here. So I thought this was a bigger channel moving down, and this is what price action might have been following. So I was watching this carefully. I saw this as a new low. It's a first entry short, pull back. Now I was thinking, actually, this is a failed second entry long. Clean that up. I saw this as a new high, first entry long, second entry long. I saw this as a new low, first entry short, pull back. Here, it's almost making a second entry short because it pushes up and it needed to break below this green candle to have a first entry short pullback, one tick above, push back down to create the true second entry short. But I saw this as potentially a more aggressive trade because if you're playing off the idea that the red channel is acting as some kind of resistance, then it would probably work. The problem is also the conflicting idea is this is potentially in a range. So I needed this to close more strongly below and ideally click one tick below here. So it didn't happen on this, but it is, I think, an aggressive setup. And the other thing was going against me was I was thinking after this green channel break, it it's debatable that this actually went and tested the high. So this could be the first attempt up out here, but I don't know this yet. It did close below the EMA, and it's just there's like a triple or quadruple test down here, and I'm just not sure. So I would say you could enter on a short entry, but I didn't want to, like one tick below here. But here it creates a lower high. So it's first entry long, second entry long failure, and it creates a lower high. This is almost set up, or possible trade, but it does confirm the failed second entry long. The thing is, I needed this to close more bearish, like down here, kind of create a little bit of bullish, but it does look like it's a failed breakout, which could move back in. Turns out it's like a failed breakout pullback and it continues down. But unfortunately, I didn't, you know, process or think of all the options in time. So these were two, I would say possible trades, but they're more aggressive. But I left them alone. And then it just gets kind of noisy because it's right here, first entry short, second entry short. This isn't a good signal bar to go short off of. You technically have a new high, first entry long, second entry long, but this is also not a very good signal bar to go long off of. Then prices just kind of move into the close. So there weren't very many setups today that I could find. The possible setups trades were this one, this failed second entry long, but it's a little aggressive, and then this lower high, I thought, and maybe this visual second entry long here, and then the one trade that I did take. So price action was it was a little whippy today. I wouldn't say it was super tricky, but it was a little whippy. Took a little patience. And definitely as price action was printing for the rest of the day, I had to fight FOMO of wanting to just jump in on something because I did get this trade, but I don't think it was the best because it was a little more aggressive. And I had to, make sure I didn't just jump on something believing I saw a trade when there was really no trade confirmed or set up. So hopefully that was helpful.